is Resolute and the Resolute Leadership Podcast. I'm Vince Miller, your founder and host, and today we're joined by Ken Larson, president of Slumberland, today discussing the topic, can everyone really be a leader? Well, welcome back to the program. If this is your first time tuning in, well, thank you for joining us. Our mission is to disciple and develop men to lead. And if you're looking for content for your men's group or men's ministry, then you need to go to our website today at beresolute.org. We have a number of great tools for men who are leading other men, including some new small group series that we know that you would love for the men that you lead and your men's groups at your church. But now let's dive in. Well, I am blessed to be joined today by Ken Larson, president of Slumberland. Over the last 40 years, Ken and his wife Barb have led this organization from its infant stages to the ginormous organization that it is today, providing sleep and furniture and home furnishings to people across the nation. It's been a joy to know him personally, and we're excited to have him on this program. Recently, he handed the baton to his son, Kenny, who is now leading the organization. What an amazing legacy. And Ken, we are excited about having you here with us today. You have recently been reading the book by Albert Mohler entitled The Conviction to Lead. Great book, written by a seminary president, actually, and has 25 principles for leadership that he says that matters in life. And I know recently you got into a great discussion at a business lunch that you lead around the topic, the conviction to lead. This was especially heated with the first chapter, actually. And the first chapter is suggesting for us that leadership begins with purpose, not just simply a plan. Share with us some of your thoughts on this book and the topic of conviction to lead.
Thanks, Vince. I have really enjoyed the book. And let me just say, first of all, Albert Mohler is very unique. He became president of this very large seminary at age 33 in Louisville, Kentucky, and it was a hostile environment. The faculty did not want him there. Almost everyone was older and had more experience, and he shows up as a 33-year-old president to turn the institution around. Someone like this needs to be listened to. What he did in a relatively short period of time is absolutely incredible. So he talks about and writes about what it means to be a leader. And frankly, there's two ways he comes at it. He talks about how important it is to be a person of the book, to be a person committed to God's word, to be a person who knows God's word and can live it and can teach it. On the other hand, he talks about what it takes to be a leader. A leader has to have passion, purpose, has to be able to communicate and live it. He argues furthermore that it's not just good enough to be good in one area. The key to great leadership, and probably why there aren't many around, is someone that excels and has both. Both being a person of the book and biblically oriented as you lead and develop an organization, but also a leader who understands what it means to lead and hopefully help people to become as good as they can be and use the gifts that God's given them.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you probably a harder question to answer because it might alienate people a little bit, but can you... It sounds like it may be challenging for some people who really do, per se, follow the book or follow God's word and have a lot of character, may not be leaders. Is that a little bit of the suggestion here?
I think it is some of the suggesting concepts. For me personally, and I've seen a number on both sides, those that are strong as leaders, those that are strong in their biblical position, knowledge, and application. Just because you're one does not mean you can do the other well.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that, but that's got to be startling for some to hear, because I assume that there's some people listening that would say, well, I really want to be both, and isn't it possible for me to be both? But is Moeller suggesting that sometimes it's not possible to be both?
Yes, he does. That's my interpretation of how he is describing it. God's gifted all of us. We all have a DNA that's unique and only to us. And some of us will try very hard on a numerical scale, if we happen to be a 3, a 4, or a 5 leader, to get up to be a 9 or a 10, which is where you need to be an effective leader. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to improve. It doesn't mean that you can't improve. But God has gifted us in ways that would suggest that not everybody can be a great leader and a great person of the book and do it in excellence in both areas.
Yeah, I would probably have to agree with that, because I know that I have witnessed great leaders even in my day. I'm sure that there's people out there listening today that can think of a great leader or two, and maybe people that have influenced them in their life. And I would assume that there are things that derail those leaders as well. Sometimes it's probably things on the book side of things, the biblically based side, like character, while on the other side, there are people that have great character that are very challenged to find either opportunities to lead or just can't do it. And I got to be honest with you, Ken, I have met a number of people in my life who have really great character, but would say that they have just never been given the opportunity to lead. Therefore, they're not able to lead. What would you tell a person like that, or what would you suggest to a person like that?
Well, let me back up and add another phrase to what we're talking about. I'm going to put a word in front of leader, and it's going to be positional. Some people have positional leadership roles, and it can be in the church. It could be a senior pastor. It could be an elder. You could have a positional leader in government. You could be a mayor. You could be a governor. You can have a positional leadership in an organization that's a for-profit. You might be a supervisor. You might be a general manager. But having the phrase in front of you does not make you a leader. One of the things that's really interesting to think about is that positional leaders have something behind them that other leaders that may not be in an official capacity do not have. Positional leaders have the ability to do an annual review that includes how far you're going to go in the organization, how much you're going to earn, if there's a bonus involved, if there's a promotion involved. That is tremendous leverage. And it's my opinion, Vince, that some of the people that are reasonable leaders, that are positional leaders, would not be leaders at all if they didn't have the help of their position.
And it's really interesting, because I would assume that most people understand that, but they just simply forget it. That really leadership is a muscle that we exert regardless of where we do it, whether it's inside an organization or it's a title that we've been given. It's something that we choose to do, and that we can really use that muscle to influence the people around us. And we've probably all been given like different size muscles in this area as we exert our leadership on the world. And some of us have been blessed to really exert that muscle, and we've built it up, and some of us cannot. But that doesn't mean that we can't live with character and be people of the book, though, however, correct?
Absolutely right. You've said it well.
So what would be your challenge to people out there on this topic, Ken? I know that you've been swirling around this topic recently. So what would you tell the people that are listening today that may find it hard to really exert their leadership muscle? What's the good news for them then?
This may sound a little basic and a little underestimating the statement, but let me say this. I believe that the best way to determine and build leadership technique and skill is to volunteer in a nonprofit community or church setting where you have none of the external tools like the ability to do an annual review, give someone a promotion or a raise, because in that setting, you will lead by demonstrating you have vision, you are going to help people become all they can be, and they will follow because they believe in you.
That's actually a really great word, and that's applicable to any church situation or any nonprofit situation where you just say, look, take a chance, do something, get out there, get off the bench, get into the game, as I always say. And I think on the other side of the fence, Ken, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, maybe we need to lay down our idol of leadership. I think far too many people out there today succumb to this idea that anybody and everybody can be a leader, when maybe that's not true. Maybe we've over-idolized the position, as you say, of leadership and need to take on maybe the role of being a servant. I mean, that's, after all, how Paul the Apostle identified his own position, servant of Jesus Christ, and then through that, he wrote most of the New Testament and led the church into a new age. And because of his work, Constantine became a Christian and the Roman Empire was evangelized because he took on the identity of servant and he used sheer influence, sheer commitment, sheer love for Jesus Christ, and just kept plodding along. And really, it wasn't until after Paul was dead that his influence spread across the Roman Empire. Well, thanks again, Ken, for being with us. We sure appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And that's the show. Thanks so much for listening. As we close, I want to remind you that we have great content for your men's groups, excellent small group videos, and participant handbooks that will empower the men of your church to lead and equip them to build the men around them. Check it all out at beresolute.org. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast, but please know that the time that we spent together today is worthless unless you act on it. So do something today by getting off the bench and into the game. And I'll see you right back here next time on the Resolute Leadership Podcast.